Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone is having a great day. Today, we're going to talk about elevating your business in 2023. I know everyone is ready and they have good intentions for the new year, so this is a perfect way to get started. My name is Lisa. I'm from the Nevada SBDC. I am the training coordinator, and yeah, Devin, you already know. So Nevada SBDC is here to help you grow or start your business. If you are looking for some business advising or more training, definitely reach out to us at nevadasbdc.org or give us a call. This is being recorded, so you will get the recording in a couple of days, hopefully by Monday. I will also have the slides for you sent in the email and along with Devin's contact. So if you've got more questions for him or if you want to work directly with him, you are more than welcome to. If you have questions during the presentation, definitely add them to the chat. We do have Q&A at the end. So Devin is our presenter today from Your Referral Partner, and he is a hoot. I'm excited you guys to join us. And Devin, it's your show.
All right, welcome everybody. Thanks for making some time to be here, and welcome to 2023. And we're already past the halfway mark of January. We were just having that conversation. I don't know where those days went, so hopefully one of you guys do. If you have video, I'd love if you could turn it on. There's nothing worse than talking to a room full of black screens because it doesn't give me any emotion, so I can't tell if you're bored with me, if you hate me, or if you enjoy the conversation. I do present fast, so I'm going to cover a lot of content really quickly. And I want to get to Q&A because I want to make it about you, about your journey, and about your business. So we're going to cover a lot of different topics, and we're going to do it, like I said, rapidly. When we get to Q&A, everything's fair game. So feel free to jump in and ask questions that relate to your business on sales, marketing, growth, strategy, systems, and processes. You're going to see all of that. Before we dive in, who am I? I don't like listening to someone talk when I don't know who they are. So this is a quick about me. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've had a marketing agency, a co-working space, a manufacturing company. I did a corporate stint at BBSI, which was super fun. And I learned the corporate world, and I learned that I probably should just be an entrepreneur. I launched with my wife Enchanted Cat Cafe, and then we sold it in the Reno market. So that was super fun. And then currently I'm a business consultant that help people build high value networks to make more money. I also host a couple podcasts, and I've taught social media at the university level. So I do a lot of different things. What we do as a company, I like to highlight, again, we help people build high value networks that generate referrals. So that's my specialty, but I've worked with hundreds of businesses on their growth strategies. So like I said, everything's fair game when we get into the Q&A. To start, if you guys could jump in the chat and just let me know what industry you're in. Just put what business you're in, because as I'm presenting, I'll then adjust some of the stuff to match the industries and the businesses you guys are in. So if you guys could hit the chat real quick, and let's just see what industries do we have in the room? What are you guys doing? Hospice and healthcare, awesome. We need you for sure. What else do we have? Computer training, perfect. I figured out that you have to plug it in and push power. I got that far. UPS store, awesome. Love it. And a rural market. Martial arts studio, perfect. I'll take a note not to mess with you. High-tech indoor storage. Ooh, storage is fun. Life coach, spiritual teacher, awesome. Mental health, perfect. Pretty diverse group, guys. So make sure you check those names too and see if there's someone in here that is relatable and that you guys can get value from. So keep putting those in there. Let's see what else is popping in. We got property management, maintenance, SaaS. Love the SaaS space, do a ton there. Sweet. Awesome. Let's jump into it. So, oops, let's go backwards. Go backwards. All right, so 5 pillars of business. This is going to be the core of the first part of the presentation, and something I want you guys to really think through. I recommend you do this exercise every 90 days in your business forever, because your business is going to change and adapt, and it's important that you do the same. So 5 pillars I want you to look at: people, process, products, pipeline, and profits. And then I gave you some subcategories in there. So in people, we're talking about team. We're talking about the capacity of the team, leadership, management, culture. Are you providing ownership, meaning task ownership to your team members? In process, that could be your document storage, your content management, fulfillment, sales, onboarding, everything and anything that happens facing a customer or behind the scenes is a process. And so often we think process is this one linear thing, and it's so many pieces of your business. Accounting is a process, bookkeeping, All of these things are processes. So how do your processes relate? Products, right, is what you're offering today the right thing to offer. We're also looking at upsells. What's your most profitable? What products are broken? What are some new products or things you're thinking of launching? Pipeline, right? So that's everything around sales. So marketing, lead gen, all of your contractors there, social media, doing webinars like this. And then profits is really diving into the numbers and the accounting side. So those are the 5 buckets I want you to pay attention to, especially as we talk through the next exercise. But 5 ways to quickly look at your business and gauge, are we on track? Are we off track? Or do we need to change something? So the 90-day check-in. There's a 4-point scale I want you to use for the 5 pillars, right? So people, process, pipeline, product, and profit. So 1, there's no problems. Nothing at all. It's good. It's easy. There's infinite capacity. I have no concerns with that pillar of my business. 2, there's some challenges, but you know what? It doesn't need attention today. I expected there to be some challenges. We're good. 3, hey, you know what? I'm seeing some challenges and it's getting shaky in this pillar. And 4 is it's broken, right? And it's broken means there is something that you need to deal with and you're either putting off or you just haven't found a way to get ahead of. Now, the higher the overall number, obviously, the more attention you need to place on that pillar. So let's actually walk through some examples. This is how I want you to go through it. So you're going to write your 5 pillars: people, process, products, pipeline, profits. Are you going to write those down on a sheet? And as we talk through these, go ahead and score yourself on a number. And if you have a business partner or someone else, have them do the same activity. And then you can come together and talk about it. The goal of this exercise is to remove emotion. We want to start training you to think logically and critically about your business in a way where you're asking why and you're removing emotion. So the numbers allow you to just have a matter-of-fact rating so we can gauge where we're at. So let's start with people. In this example, I'm a 1, right? I just hired, I have a great culture. Because I have new team members, I have lots of capacity, right? So there's no real issue with people. Now, if you have an employee that you're holding on to because you're worried you can't fulfill and you just keep holding on to them, but they're a horrible employee and they're taking advantage of you, you might be at a 3 or 4, right? Depending on how bad that relationship is. Maybe you just had to write someone up again. Again, you might be at a 4. Maybe you're out of capacity with your current team and you have a job posting up and you just can't fill that position. So it's a 3 when you put the job posting up, and it may become a 4 if you're not able to fill it in the right timeline because now it's broken. If we move to process, right, the example here, I put a 4, right? I need to dial in processes because the sales team to the fulfillment team is broken. And that's now providing negative client feedback. So often client feedback can show up in how your process piece is. If you're getting a lot of complaints, something in your process might be broken, right? If it's taking longer to fulfill, something in your process might be broken. If there's internal tension between your team members, usually it's a process issue, right? Because we have misaligned expectations. So in this example, process was a 4. Process might be a 1. If you look at your organization, you're like, hey, I'm pretty hands off and it just runs. Hey, you might be a 1, you might be a 2, right? So that might be a good pillar for you. Product. In this example, I gave product a 3. I have one product that's not ideal. It needs to be adjusted or removed. I'm not really getting the margin I want, or maybe it's a break-even product. Maybe it's a legacy product that I have a few clients in, but everyone else is in my new product offering. So I need to move them to that. And so that might be why it's a 3. It would become a 4 if that legacy product or that thing was fully broken. And I needed to make that jump. So think through, what services do I offer? What are the price points? What are people actually buying, or what are they going to be buying if you're a startup and doing some planning? And think through, should I be changing something? Can I upsell my clients? And where's my product at? Like, is it really at a 1 where it's all perfect? I'm super happy with it. There's no problems. Or is it a 4 where, hey, half the stuff I'm doing is great, half of it's not? Pipeline. In this example, I gave pipeline a 2. It's a decent pipeline, could be better. So it's just a general statement. If we gauge the business, we look at revenue and we go, you know what, there's opportunity and I'm closing it. That's fine. But it could be a 4 if you're sitting there writing, I like to call it the teeter-totter, right? So you're producing and then you're selling, you're producing and you're selling. This happens a lot with businesses where we don't have huge teams, right? You're out there pounding the pavement, closing deals, and then you run back behind the scenes to fulfill. And then you wake up and go, well, wait a second, there's no pipeline, right? So your pipeline might be at a 1 when it's full and you're paying attention to it. And then it might drop down to a 4 when you're now producing and not paying attention to the sales sides of things. So check your pipeline. Profits, I gave it 2, right? Could be better. Year-over-year growth was okay. But again, it could be a 1 if you're hyper growth and you're just seeing great margin expansion, perfect. Or it could be a 4 if you're sitting there saying, hey, you know what? To be honest, I'm looking for ways to raise capital. I'm looking for injections and lines of credit because, it's just not where it needs to be. And so these are the 5 pillars and how I want you to think through them on a scale of 1 to 4. So in front of you, if you guys have been doing this exercise, you should have a gauge of your 5 pillars and where they're at. And you should maybe have had an aha moment already where you said, you know what, I hadn't thought about that pillar on its own. And you know what, I do need to pay attention to process, or I do need to pay attention to profits. So those are the 5 pillars and the exercise that goes with it. The takeaway from this, again, I said, do it every 90 days. And if you have team members, I love to have my team go through this. So teach your team exactly what I just said, right? You do a worksheet, you write the things on the board if you have a whiteboard. I see a whiteboard in one of us behind us, right? So on the whiteboard, go up there and write the 5 pillars and say, hey, going around the room, I want everyone to think about our people. What would you rate our people? 1 being, we're awesome, amazing, everything's rocking, or 4, hey, there's some stuff broken. And have everyone in your team go around and write a number, have them go around and share, and make sure you ask why. Why did you give it that number? We can't just get the numbers. We need the context, right? Hey, I gave people a 2 because I think the team's awesome, but obviously we just hired some new people and we got to train them up. So I gave it a 2 because we got to do some training. Or I gave it a 4 because we all have job postings and I don't work well with this person, or this department's broken. And as a manager, what'll happen is your team answers is you're going to find insight to stuff that is more broken in your business than you thought it was. And your team is going to tell you that. 100% of the time I've done this with teams, the team brings something to light that the manager or owner of the company was in denial on, right? You may know it's there, but you may have it as a lower priority. And the team's going to make you very well aware that no, this issue's a 4. The whole team agrees it's a 4, and here's why. And it gives you that ability as a leader to go and pivot. So if you have questions about the 5 pillars, right? Write your notes down or put it in the chat. Again, we'll do Q&A at the end just so we can kind of keep flowing. But that's the 5 pillar exercise. Next thing I want you guys to think about is current state versus future state. So where are you today? So the 5 pillar exercise gives you a great benchmark of the current state. Like, this is where my business is today, and I now have visibility to 5 buckets that I can judge and understand where I'm at. Now, where do you want to be is the next question, right? So that's more of a planning question. Where do you want to go? We're at the beginning of the year, so hopefully everyone did some sort of planning for this year to have an idea of, hey, I want to be here by the end of the year. And then what's your plan to get there, right? Don't set goals without a plan, right? So if you're going to outline a path forward, make sure that you actually have some steps that will help you get there. And then the real takeaway here is this, right? That's current state, future state. The takeaway is this piece. When does it all get foggy? So if you think about your business and you have 100 clients, if you're the SaaS person in the room, right? If you had 200 clients, can you still visualize what that looks like? If you had 500 clients, if you had 1,000, at what point can you not visualize and understand what the business would look like? How much bigger do you have to get? If you're the martial arts studio, right? How many classes and teachers do you need before you're like, damn, I have no clue. Like, I have no clue what this looks like, because now instead of just me managing, I need someone else managing this team, and I might need a bigger facility now because we've outgrown it. So where does it get foggy? We don't often think that far ahead, yet when we make the time to think about the foggy point where you just can't quite visualize it, that's where you have some aha moments on what do I need to put in place today to buffer that in the future. And so you can do the 5 pillar exercise on the current state and then the foggy state. And so if for you, say for me, right, as a consultant, I may say, well, you know what, at 5 times, I can't really visualize that. I run out of time. But the coaches I have on staff, I'm going to need more of them. And so now I can do the exercise and say, you know what, if I grow to that point, which was past my goals and in a place I hadn't really thought of yet, I'm going to need a better CRM, better document storage. I'm going to need to train 3 more people, which means I'm going to need to hire them ahead of time, right? So I want you to find the foggy moment in the business. And if you're a startup, then I want you to think well beyond what your business plan shows and figure out, where does it get to a point where you don't understand what's happening? Because that's where you're going to have those moments of clarity and you'll find all the weaknesses in your current business that you can then start getting well ahead of. So that's the current state, future state. Again, find that foggy moment. That's where I want you to, your kind of takeaway for this slide and for the tool. Next thing we talk about is key performance indicators, KPIs. This is a part of the business everybody should have for every aspect of your business. And often this is a part that's totally missing. The reason we want KPIs is it removes the emotion. Again, the 5 pillars helps remove emotion because it gives you common language, common ground, and a rating scale that you can talk to your team about without the he said, she said, she did, he did, right? And so with this, it's the same thing. You probably, if you have team members, right, even if it's your spouse or partner that's in the business with you, you've probably had moments where it becomes emotional, right? And it becomes emotional because one person had an expectation, someone had an expectation, expectations misaligned, and we didn't communicate correctly, right? Now, if we have KPIs around everything in the business, it starts to remove emotion because we can talk factually about these metrics that we've agreed on, right? And so the key part about KPIs, they have to be set, clearly agreed on, and there has to be mutual expectation. So I give you guys a bunch of examples here, but how many clients can one person manage, right? How much margin per project, right? Because now we can look at hours to fulfillment. How many calls answered versus voicemail? So if you have a VA or someone who's answering phones for you, right? How many voicemails are you getting a day? Because if they're sitting there, they should be answering the phone because we know if they answer, the close rate goes up, right? How many complaints a week, right? What's our negative feedback? Is that if we're in manufacturing, right, that could be defects. But if we're in a service business, that could just be bad customer experience. It could be we weren't open on time. It could be it's a snow day or whatever else if you're in the Reno market, right? We're all impacted by that today. And then if you're doing task management, how many ever do tasks? So I want you to think about every person on your team, whether they're part-time, volunteers still apply. And I want you to think about what KPIs can I hold them accountable to? The pushback I get is usually if it's someone who's fulfilling a product or service, we can usually benchmark a lot of KPIs on them. Sales, it's easy, right? We can look at their pipeline and benchmark numbers or total pipe or attrition, right? Usually it's the office manager or the VA or the receptionist position where people start to get shaky. Like, well, what am I holding them accountable to, right? They just do everything. Well, great. That's a good question. What are we holding them accountable to? Do they know? Do you know? Or do we just throw random stuff at them and hope that they don't quit, right? So the last bullet point here is ask your team. I love creating KPIs with mutual conversation with my team members saying, hey, you know what? I know you're the risk manager of my company. And this is our combined collective goals. This is what I understand your position to be. And here's the things I had in mind. Now, what do you think I should hold you accountable to? And they may come back and say, you know what? In the risk world, loss prevention is critical. So number of this, and this, I want to be held accountable to these 5 things. And you go, awesome. Let's put that on the board, right? And let's create a way to benchmark that. So with KPIs, our goal is to eliminate emotion, have KPIs for every position and everything going on in the business, and make sure that it's mutually agreed upon and accepted with our team members. So your kind of takeaway for this tool is think about every position you have or you're going to have and figure out how you're going to hold that person accountable to what they're doing with a clear metric that you guys can agree on. All right, guys, I know I'm throwing a lot at you. I warned you, we're just going to keep plowing and then Q&As at the end. I've seen some people flip their notepad a couple times, so that's great. Hopefully we're getting a lot at you. So next I want to talk about vendors. This is a huge missed opportunity and it's always the right time. But this is the activity I want you to do, hypercritical. If you're a startup, write this out. And if you've been in business for a while, I need you to do this. This is high priority. I want you to write down a list of every single vendor you spend money with as a business, every single vendor. Now, if you need help with this, go to your bank statement, right? Go pull it up and go through, you need to go through a few months because there are some things that hit quarterly or hit at weird times, but go through a few months and start writing it down. You know, oh, I pay AT&T for the phones. I pay Charter for the internet. Oh, I just renewed my insurance. This is my insurance agent. Oh, wait a second. I have this insurance policy with someone else. Oh, I pay my lease. Oh, I pay security. I have a phone system. I have all of these things you spend money on. And I want you to think about when's the last time you talked to those vendors? When's the last time? When's the last time you talked to your internet provider? When's the last time you talked to your insurance agent? Do you only talk to your CPA when it comes time to file taxes? Do you even talk to your bookkeeper? Do you have a bookkeeper? When's the last time you talked to the companies you're spending money with? And what are you paying them for versus what they're delivering? Because what happens in business is we often go with the path of least resistance, especially with vendors. So we start, right? And we start using the vendors that are either cheapest or easiest, right? And easiest means Joe Bob said that this is the best vendor for this, and I hire them and I use them. Great, right? That probably made sense when you were starting, but if you doubled, tripled, quadrupled your business, if you're in multiple states, if you have team now and you didn't have team then, you might have outgrown that vendor, right? This happens with insurance agents. Some agents are great at certain things, but you may grow to a complexity level they can't service. And so I need you to have the list so you have clarity on what you're spending money on. There's a lot of ahas just in that activity, right? Where you may have one or two bills in there where you're like, damn, I forgot I was paying for that. Or wait, why am I paying so much, right? The second thing I want you to think of is, are you getting what you're paying for? Third, can they be a strategic vendor instead of just a vendor I pay for? Insurance is a great example. Do you just pay your insurance agent, you do it annually, they never talk to you? You should be having conversations at least annually with your insurance agent. Here's what's changing in my business. Here's what's going on. Here's liabilities. Here's things I'm buying. What do I need to protect? Do I need cyber liability insurance? What's workers' comp? Oh, by the way, I hired 17 more people. Did we adjust that? The takeaway I want you guys to have on this is, even if your friend is one of the vendors, make sure that you are having active conversations frequently, and make sure you go to market and shop against them at least once a year. Because although they might be your friend or they might be someone that's referred in, we need to hold them accountable. We want to make sure that we are getting the best product and service that we can pay for, because vendors are a huge expense in our business. So this is the vendor exercise. Please try it. If you don't do this regularly, please go through it. You're probably going to find some money savings or some opportunity to shift some of those vendors. Next up, tools. As we look at our business and we're looking at growth and elevating, here's just a list of tools that you should either have or be considering. I put CRM up top because if you don't have a contact relationship management system, if you don't have a place that stores contact information where you can track tasks and follow up for those contacts, and I'm not just talking about your newsletter where this contact list is and occasionally you email them. I'm talking about a CRM where you can track what you're doing with contacts. You have to have it. So if that seems like news to you or you've been on the fence for it, your only takeaway today should be that. However, document storage is important, especially as you scale your team, right? How are we getting documents? If we're going to use contractors, how do we provide it to them? If we're creating checklists for our team, where do we store this stuff in a meaningful way that's easy to find and easy to manage? All of these things, by the way, help you become a saleable business. So if your end goal is an exit, everything we've talked about today puts you in a position to be able to have a better exit. Next tool, task and project management. How do you manage the work that needs to be done by your team? Do you provide checklists? Is it in your phone, right? If you're in the field and they're doing something while they're on the job site. How are we holding people accountable? I love task and project management. There's so much value to that because, again, it creates transparency versus, well, I thought, or I interpreted, or, well, I thought you meant that I should do it this way. No, here's the checklist. We've agreed this is how you do it, and this is what I hired you to do. Did you do everything on the checklist? No? Great. Now, again, we can have a non-emotional conversation about what you wanted them to get done. Note-taking. How do you take notes? Huge problem in business, right? Are you writing them down? Are you typing them? Did you get one of the fancy new notable board things that you can write on and it auto syncs? And then where do you put those notes so you actually take action? And then do you actually take the time to assign tasks and follow up based on the notes you just took? Or did you just take 5 pages of notes, which you might do today, and then not give yourself any action items or time tomorrow to deal with it? Because if you sit on it and you take 5 pages of notes and never assign time to actually follow up with the notes, your note-taking process is broken and you either need a solution for it or you need to allocate time to follow up. Invoicing, right? How do you invoice? You need to make sure that on the invoicing side, we have a process, right? If receivables are a problem in your business, let's solve it. Ask to get paid up front, right? Half and half, let's change the deposit flow, right? So invoicing, the tool and the process. Accounting, the tool, the process, and the person, right? You might have a bookkeeper and CPA involved. Newsletters, what tool do you use to send email blasts? Email management. How are you managing your email? Does it integrate? Does it sync? Do you have 19 inboxes? If you add a new team member, what's the goal? Do you play the inbox zero game where your inbox has to be empty, or do you even have a process and thought to how you manage your inbox? If you don't and you scale your team up, when they go on vacation, it's impossible to know what's in their inbox if you don't have a system. Calendar and appointment setting. Have you streamlined it so you can send a link and people can book meetings, or are you still playing email tag with people trying to book meetings? There are a million calendar tools. Get one of them, have it integrate. Social media management, right? If you hired someone, are we using a universal tool to manage? I know there's a lot here. We could do presentations on every single one of these tools and why and how they're important. The reason the list is here is if you're in business and one of the things I mentioned is something you're not using, think about it. Like, take time to think about, if I were to take the time to research, implement this tool, what could I get in return? What does it free up? Does it buy me more capacity? What can I get from these tools? So tool audit is another great way to elevate your business, and something that you should do at least on an annual basis. And when in doubt, meet with someone who's a little further ahead of you and ask them what tools they're using. So now we're going to get into the marketing side a little bit, and then we'll get to the Q&A. So challenge for you guys. I love giving this challenge out. I challenge you to Google your name and the city you do business. So for me, it would be Devin Sizemore Reno. And I want you to see what comes up. This is something most of us haven't done, but if you're in business, you have to do this because you need to know what shows up for you. The second thing I want you to Google is I want you to Google your business name in the city. Now, here's a trick. Do it in an incognito window. For those of you, right, not your traditional browser, go to a private browser because we don't want your browsing history to impact the results. The reason we want you to do this is I need you to understand the importance of a couple things here, but I need you to do this regularly so you understand when good and bad shows up. There are review sites you don't know exist, and we want to make sure you don't have a bad review out there crippling your reputation. The other takeaway here is usually your social accounts are going to be some of the highest ranking things for yourself and your business. So if you're still on the fence of, do I need social media? Should I play in that space? One, your customers are there, period. We don't even need to negotiate that. But the most important reason to have social media is it can add more Google results for your business that you control. And it does it instantly. So every time I do mine, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube always show up. And I do presentations all the time. I have newsletters out there. I'm on podcasts all the time. And my social media tends to outperform anything and everything else I'm doing. So that's your takeaway. Do the 2 Google searches. Again, incognito private browsing so that it's not impacted by your current search. And then take note of what shows up and look if there's opportunities, directories you didn't know you're on, and then make sure your contact info is correct, especially if you're a business that's changed locations. Is the address correct everywhere? Is your suite number correct? Are your hours correct? Great example of that. We went to a awesome Asian restaurant and we tried to go Sunday and Google said they were open and Apple Maps said they were open, and we showed up and we walked to the door and sure as shit, they weren't open. And it's a shitty experience because now, next time I want to go, I probably won't. I'll probably go somewhere else because what I got to call ahead now to make sure you're open, like there's a gap, right? So make sure your clients aren't having that experience. So that's the Google challenge. Another takeaway for you guys on the marketing side, just to give you some more visibility to what you guys can work on for your personal brand and your business. And just know if you're in business, your personal brand is just as important. Woo, lots of info for you guys. 2023 marketing trends. All right. These are just things to highlight. Think about if you guys are thinking about your marketing. AI, machine learning, critically important to pay attention to AI this year. ChatGPT is changing the world of content creation and data. It's fascinating to see. A lot of the chatbots you're going to be on with are all automated. They're not people. There are so many tools in that space that are going to change the way you're doing marketing this year. Pay attention to them. Personalized marketing, critically important, right? We want to feel like we're being directly communicated with. So pay attention to that. Look for ways to add that to your marketing. UX, design and flow. So it's not just about being present. It's about how the user is experiencing your product, platform, and service. So pay attention to the user experience. Short form video, it's been hot. It's still hot. Reels are still a thing. And it's still somewhere you need to pay attention. Influencer marketing is great. Integrated shopping is fascinating. And if you're in the e-com business, it's somewhere you need to pay attention to. The fact that you can watch stuff on streaming devices now and during the commercial breaks, interact with the ad and actually directly shop through your Amazon account, fascinating. And there's more and more of that coming. So pay attention to it because there's a lot of ways you could be on the leading edge of some of those product placements. to make sure that you're participating in the integrated shopping. User-generated content's amazing. I just saw the Life Water, no, it's the Death Water, the one that looks like beer, but it's water. I'm drawing a blank. I just watched their marketing ad for the Super Bowl. They spent $100,000. They used user-generated content for it, and they ended up getting like 1,000. Yeah, Liquid Death. Thank you. So yes, Liquid Death, $100,000 Super Bowl ad generated 100 times return on investment because they used user-generated content to generate the marketing. There are millions of case studies like that. Let your users help. Let your current customers help you. And then real-time messaging is key. People don't want to wait. We are in an instant delivery world, so pay attention to that. So those are marketing trends. If any of that jumps out to you, run down the rabbit hole and figure out how you could integrate that into your business and what you're offering. Now we move into my world where I spend a lot of time. I do all the rest of what we just talked about too. I love the business strategy world. This is my takeaway stuff on the relationship and sales side where I spend more time. The first thing I want to tell you is stop chasing clients. So often we are taught when we launch a business to go find clients. And I'm going to tell you to stop because it's a one-to-one transaction. And in our marketing, if we get someone to take action, it is a customer who can have one transaction with us, right? If we're in sales, we're chasing customers. It's all about the customer. Matter of fact, if you go to HubSpot, find your client avatar, right? If you go to this platform, find your client persona. Everything is around the customer. In your marketing plan, your business plan, it's all customers. That's great. But it's not the best leverage of your time. This is the best leverage of your time. We need to figure out these things. So I gave you the questions. First, you do need to know your client. I hope to God, if you're on here, you have some idea of who your client avatar is. Just pick one for this exercise. Just one. Just pick a client, right? And understand this is my client. So for this, we'll use a marketing agency. My ideal client's a subcontractor, right? I want to go after people in the trades because I'm a marketing agency. I'm going to build their websites. Now, where do they spend money? Now, what's great is I just had you do the vendor exercise. If you go back a few slides, I just taught you to do this because you should have some aha moments on your vendor list of where you're spending money. Now, think about your client. Where do they spend money? Who do they spend money with? What organizations? What people? What trades? Probably a lot of the same shit you spend money on because they might be in business, you might be in business. Now, if they're individuals, they spend stuff that you as an individual spend money on. So where do they spend money? Where do they gather? Where do your clients get together? What events, what associations, what organizations? What associations they belong to? Where do they seek education, right? So if I'm targeting those subcontractors, they might have continuing ed to keep their licensing or OSHA training, right? Where do they gather? Where do they get educated? Who influences them? Who has influence over your client, right? Could be a consultant, could be someone that is literally an influencer, right? They're a marketer in their space that's influencing. Who coaches them, right? Who's their advisor or advisors? And then the last bucket, the most important, who knows everyone? Who's just a connector, right? Who seems to know everybody? Now, I want you to do this exercise, and this is why we do the exercise, and we go way, way deeper into this and other content, but it'll give you enough. I want you to find ways to get in front of vendors, where these people gather, people who have influence or connectors. That's where my sales and marketing effort should go, because if I'm going after subcontractors, would love to find a way to partner with the association so that the association is advocating on my behalf to every subcontractor. Or I want to find the CPA that specializes in working with contractors, and I want the CPA to endorse and recommend me to all the clients. So I'd rather spend my time in marketing efforts, finding that CPA, nurturing the relationship, and making that such a rock star, go-to-town relationship that it produces many to many. Now, here's the key. Take this away. One-to-one, we're going after clients. One-to-many, we're going after people who have access to clients. Many-to-many. Please, someone take this and understand what I'm about to tell you. If we use the CPA example, right, and the CPA works with subcontractors, if I can find myself in a room of CPAs that specialize working with subcontractors, and I'm presenting and creating authority in that room, I want you to hear what I just said. That's many to many. I'm in a room where I can build relationships with people who have access to many of my clients. Now, if I spent my marketing and my sales efforts just on that front, and I could find myself in that room, just that room alone this year, I would fundamentally change my business for the rest of my business. I hope someone heard me there. All right, next takeaway, stop selling. And then we're almost done, guys, I promise. I told you I was going to give you a lot. Hopefully there's some takeaways. Those of you who have video on, I've seen some nods. So hopefully one or two of these things is resonating with you. So stop selling. I need you guys to stop selling, right? Like most of you probably aren't good at it anyways. And those of you who are probably come off slimy. If you're desperate, please God, stop selling, because that's the worst time to sell, because we have sales breath, right? Can you guys smell it, feel it, right? Anytime you're desperate, sales breath comes off, you're not going to close deals. So stop selling. The quote I like to use here is, everybody wants to buy, nobody wants to be sold. We are taught to consume. You don't have to sell. You just have to let people consume. So everybody wants to buy, nobody wants to be sold. Please take the quote away. Here's what I want you to do. Anytime you find yourself in a discovery meeting or sales meeting, 80% of the time ask questions, 20% talk. Add value as fast as you can. This is what we teach in my mastermind, which is I want you to make as many connections as fast as you can so you can drive as much value in the relationship. You can also provide education and resources. And if you want something from your network, the takeaway here is teach them. If you guys want more referrals from your clients or the people around you, I want you to look in the mirror and decide, how many referrals am I making? How many connections am I giving? If you're not giving the most amount of connections, why the hell would you expect your network to do it? Stop it. Stop it. If you're not doing it, stop expecting your network to do it. This is called mirroring. If I want you to do it, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it better than you so that I set the bar high and feel like you have to step up to it. So some takeaways on selling there. Again, rethink your sales model. Maybe there's some tips there. That's the end of the presentation and all the tools and crap for you guys to digest and figure out what relates best for your business. My contact info is on the screen, Devin@YourRP. All of my social accounts are DP Sizemore. There are two other ways we can continue the conversation if you guys want. I am hosting a webinar Monday at 12 o'clock to talk about the last two slides, how we build the referral systems and processes. It's the exact process. So I'm just going to dive into that. That's the link if you guys want to join me there. There's no cost and there's not really a sale. I'm really just going to provide education. There is the 1-2-3 challenge. If you guys want to fast start your business, check that out. There's a link there. It's a 1 hour, 2 strategy, 3 connection challenge. And with that, we'll go to Q&A. I'm going to skim the chat first because I know there was a couple questions in there. While you guys think about your questions. All right, so the first question I see in there, would you do this exercise separately or in a group? I'm assuming that was the 5-pillar. I recommend you do it in a group setting, but have everyone do their numbers written down individually first, and then go around the room and ask them what their number is and why. You always give your number last. You never give your number first because we want the team to not have bias, right? We want them to just answer genuinely with their why. So I recommend that group atmosphere, and then you can have that dialogue around it too. So with that, everything's available, guys. Anything we talked about today, let's get it. All right, a lot of your examples seem to be product-related businesses. Will the same apply to service-related businesses? Yeah, 100%. Jed, everything we talked about applies to service-based businesses as well. I play a lot in the service-based space, so yes, 100% you can apply it all to product, service, B2B, B2C. What are their questions, guys? You got me for 22 more minutes. Everything's fair game. Hit me. Outside of Google search, what's another way to find different city associations or networks to meet different vendors? Great question. What I found here is this. If we go back to the exercise of expanding who you're connecting with, so we talked about the client, then we look at the vendor, we look at the associations, the education. If you can find an association that they belong to, you can then look at everyone who's sponsoring their upcoming event, and you can mine those people to see where else they're spending money in marketing. Plus, I found that if you just can get clarity on where your people gather, you can then do that search, and you could do it on a state, national, or large management scale. So you can say like contractors here, or Bobby's on. So, you know, Bobby's in the golf industry, right? So, you know, Golf Association, California, Golf Association, Texas, you know, golf conventions, right? So just take your keyword for where your people gather and look at association, conventions, events, accreditations, education, type all those in, and then just get the Excel and start copying and pasting every link to every event and pay attention to everyone who's sponsoring, and that should help you expand that list. Hopefully that helped. That's kind of how I mine for leads and teach people to hack niches. What CRM and contact management tools do you recommend? It's such a hard question. If you want a free CRM, HubSpot's free. I use High Level for all my businesses and all my clients. I've been in Salesforce. I've been in Zoho. You can't really go wrong. I need you to just be in one. So if you're not in a CRM or you're using Outlook or all of your contacts are in your phone and you have no database management, I just need you in one. Because if you're not in one, we're missing tons of opportunities to follow up and follow through. But again, HubSpot's free, cheap, and you can do contacts and task management. It's great. And then there's tons out there. If you're in a niche industry, type CRM with the industry you're in, and there's probably one that has already solved a lot of problems in your vertical or in your market, and just use that because they probably figured something out you haven't thought of yet. Do you know of any social media management tools that integrate AI? Fascinating. There's a lot that are starting to. I'll tell you how we do it. This might be a fun little takeaway for you guys. So I mentioned Chat GPT, Chat, the letter GPT. Check it out, free account. This is how we create our social posts now, and this is how we create a lot of our blog content. I do have an agency side where we do a lot of this. Here's how you create content. Go find a list of FAQs for your industry. Take all of the questions and put them in an Excel doc. Go to Chat GPT and paste the question in and let the AI produce the content. Copy the content, and now you have a blog and a social post. There are tools out there. I use Pictory for video editing. You can then upload the script and Pictory will create a reel for you based on the script. So you can literally take the 50 FAQs you found, put them into Chat GPT, generate the content. You can take that to Canva and create an image. You can paste the content straight to a social post or blog, and then you can use different video tools to create reels. And now you've done the AI do all those things. Can you put those in the chat? Yes. Chat GPT, that's the AI tool. You guys should check out. Pictory is the video editing tool. And then Canva is what we use for a lot of like content creation. And then CRMs we were mentioning are HubSpot, Insightly, Zoho, or High Level. So there's some tools for you guys. What other questions, guys? These are great questions, by the way. I love that they're unique and I love you guys are pushing. So yeah, I mean, everything's fair game. Hit me. I'll share whatever you guys ask. I've worked in almost every industry you guys are in. So if you want to get real specific in your industry, it's probably relatable. Have you had any experience in trying to raise funds via rewards-based crowdfunding? If so, what are the most important things to understand? Tons of experience raising funds, and Alvin is still on here. You should connect with him, side note, because he's brilliant at that. So grab his name and go find him on LinkedIn. There, he can wave at you. So Alvin's brilliant when it comes to creative fundraising. So he can answer this much more. And so yeah, connect with him offline and have that conversation. What I would say about this, when you're doing crowdfunding or any fundraising, the first thing I always challenge people with is fundraising is, can we sell our way to success instead of raise capital? So is there something within our control where we can generate enough revenue to not have to raise funds? So that's pre-selling product, it's annual plans, it's front-loaded contracts, things that we can control where we're generating capital ourselves. So first, I would challenge you to get creative and see if there's a way to self-fund, which usually there is. If we're going to go the crowdfunding route, make sure that you've got partners. And this goes for any fundraising, but sales in general. You need a reliable network of people who can market with you. And so if you're trying to raise capital or do crowdfunding in a certain place, before you launch your marketing campaign or your pitch deck campaign, make sure that you've built out those synergistic relationships and go to them and start finding ways to have them promote you to their databases so you can fast track and speed up your plan. This is a couple of small things. I don't want to get too deep into raising capital. It is something I do, but it's not my forte. Any VA systems that utilize AI? There are some I've seen on the chat side and automating email responses. I just have 2 VAs that work for me and do everything on that side. We haven't really explored AI there other than the frequently asked question part. We use that to populate some of their answers. Perfect. Thanks, Alvin. Appreciate you. So there's a link for Alvin. I try to plug people when they're on. That's also what we do. But he can chat with you more about that and fundraising. What other questions, guys? Anything's fair game? What's real for your business? What are some goals you're chasing? What's a challenge? What's burning down? What's keeping you up at night? What's pissing you off? I bet you someone else on here has the same problem, so feel free to ask the question. No one? Come on, there's got to be another question in the room. There's no way you have it all figured out.
Can I make a suggestion really quick, Devin?
Yes, sir.
So one of the, we've had discussions. My background is I've gone into companies, turned them around, grow them. And one of the things that a lot of business owners, because they're so focused, they're so diligent on their business, every single company I ever went into said, everything's good in our business. We just need sales. And what we found was without raising any sales, when they looked internally at how much time they were losing as a result of some of the operations and the way they managed things, they had about 10 or 20% of EBITDA stashed in the company that they weren't extracting because they didn't ask the right questions because they were focused on sales. It's important to maintain that perspective. Devin, you touched on it. And I think it's that's usually the real starting point of growing and developing the business as well. Just wanted to add that to stimulate some of the questions that might be underlying in your presentation.
Thanks, Alvin. Yeah, and I love going back to the 5 pillars, guys. That's why I give you guys the 5, because we often focus on just pipeline and the other pillars are just as important. What other questions? There's got to be something else out there. What's something you guys are struggling with? Do you need a referral for something, recommendation, connections? Again, it should still be on the screen. Hop into that webinar Monday if you have time. We'll talk more about the referral and connection side. If you want to dig in personally to your stuff, there's a link for that. We could talk about that as well. What other questions you guys have? There's got to be something out there. Connections, need help getting the word out. All right, Bobby, let's use you as an example, man, just because I know your business. So this will be a good, we'll take a second here and we'll talk about the connection exercise. And so if you guys have the problem I have where you're sitting at a desk and you're not super mobile and you're just not moving a ton, Bobby's the guy. And he has a product that's great for professionals and golf. Is that still true to you, Bobby? Is that still your focus?
Yeah. I've been working with some corporate wellness and training more trainers and physical therapists, but I just literally need, if I had Tiger Woods as my guy, it's just like, oh, now it's legit. And it's been legit for so many years. And I've helped so many people, from pro athletes to regular Joes, but just trying to figure out how to go bigger this year with getting the word out and getting the right connections, because I mean, TRX did what it did. I'm 10 times what TRX is if people would use what I'm teaching, but I don't know how to, like Alvin just talked about, the business is what I do on my side, you couldn't help me with, but I could always use help on the business side, because I'm not sure what I'm doing over there to get the word out and grow that and get these things in, like the social media and the things, get those things growing with the right people. Like if I had the right team of doing the business side, the training side, I can walk into a pro team and just show them why they're injured, like baseball players. I just called Billy Beane last week with the Oakland A's and said, I want to come in for a meeting to show them they should not have injuries in baseball. It's a non-contact sport, unless you run into the fence or slide into second. But the groin pulls and the hamstrings, insane nowadays if you know what you're doing and teaching, and all the back pain that's out there.
Let's use you as an example then, and then I'll make this applicable for everyone in the room, right? So let's just use the golf industry. So let's say you just want to go after golf, because I know that's where we had a conversation. He can help with your swing speed, mobility, and you're really chasing, like your dream connection would be an athletic endorsement at a high enough level where it can generate influence. And so that would be us saying, hey, I'm not just chasing a client, right? The person that can buy your product or service, which is me. If I take this off, his product's sitting back here and I use it at the office. But his dream connection, which I challenge you guys to do on that connection expansion exercise, would be that influential person. And so now if I'm sitting here saying, hey, how do I hack this? How do I get to this person? I would then build a list of everyone I know that has influence, and I would change my ask. And my ask would not have to do with clients. My ask would specifically be, hey, I love the conversation. I've learned a lot about your business. I know how I'm going to help you. And then I would switch my ask, like, you know what I'm looking for? I'm looking for connections to one athlete who can make a difference for me, just one athlete. Ideally, they're in one of these two industries, in this case, golf. I'm looking for that connection. Do you know anyone who's influential or high up in the golf space? And I would let my network start to drive me down this path where I'm getting deeper and deeper and higher in the golf space. And what you'll find is 6 or 7 meetings down that train later, as long as we're nurturing and adding value and still being non-salesy, we're going to find ourselves in the right meeting, fully endorsed in that meeting, and the deal is going to happen. And so this is a great example of, we can set the end goal. Now we just need to change our pitch to that ask. And then we need to nurture and follow up on the thing. Check in Monday. I'll hit record on that webinar. That's exactly what we're going to dive into Monday. But let's read some other ones. So connections for R&D manufacturing would be awesome. So great. R&D manufacturing. Jed, how big's your database?
My database.
Yeah, how big is it? How many people do you know?
I was in a BNI networking group for 7 years with another company that I have, but this is a totally different startup. So I was a member of Chambers of Commerce's. I have quite a few connections. I'd say 500.
Perfect. Let's just use that. That's great. That gives me enough to at least walk through the exercise with you. So if your goal is R&D manufacturing, and there's probably sectors in there, right? There might be specific types of manufacturing that make sense for this new venture. What I would do is I would start with connectors first. Go through your database and think through, man, who can I think of that just seems to know everybody? Hint, I'm one of them. And I would say, hey, can I get on your calendar? I'd love to catch up. And the way you book this meeting is critical. You cannot book this meeting saying, I want to catch up because I want to see how you can help me. Because you're not going to book any meetings, right? You have to send the script that sounds like this. Hey, Jed, it's been a while since we last connected. Wanted to check into it with you to see what's new and exciting in your world. Any new challenges? Anything I can connect you with? Hey, I'd love to grab time to catch up and see how we might be able to open doors for each other. And book the meetings with that mutual conversation. Now, you're going to go into that meeting. How you handle that meeting is critical because we got a mine, right? We're trying to find those connections. Now, 80% of the time you ask questions, that was on one of the slides, right? I want you to ask and get to know everything you can about them. Now, the reason is we're trying to figure out, who do they know? What's their spouse know? What's their family do? What organizations are they in? Like, where's their network? Because I'm going to find a connection in their network. And then I want you to validate in the last 20% what you can do that aligns with everything they just told you, right? So if they tell you they have a lot of stuff in the R&D space or might, I would start answering in a way that lets them know I'm looking for people in that space. I then validate, hey, I'm going to make some connections after this based on what you told me to this, this, and this. And then they're going to say, well, who can I connect you with? And you're going to say, you know what? I would love connections in the R&D manufacturing companies. Here's the kind of people I'm connecting with. You plant the seed, right? Now, here's what you do. After the meeting, you have to make your connections. You have to do what you want, right? If you do that 100 times, you'll have every connection you could possibly want, and everyone will open every door for you. I guarantee it. Like, I'll put money on the line. Start a home health business. And yes, sir. And the challenges we're having is referral. Perfect. You should be on Monday's webinar too. We can build a plan for you and I'll show you the steps. Again, you got to practice what you preach. A lot of people ask for referrals without giving them. So if you're not a giver, you probably aren't going to succeed there. So we have to flip your script to every meeting, add value through connections. That's kind of the quick takeaway there. And then we can move the needle for sure. What else? What other questions? These are great, guys. You guys rock. And hopefully there's some value here for you guys. Monday's talk. It is, let me see if I can copy and paste. I don't know. Let me stop screen share. Let me get it for you. I'm pulling up the PowerPoint. All right, there's the link for Monday's talk. And I'll probably record that and post it on my social, but if you reach out to me, we can dig in deeper too. What else do you guys want to talk about? We got 5 more minutes. Is there another question sitting there, another challenge, something that you guys are beating your head against the wall on? marketing, vendors you don't like, another type of referral. Everyone want to type referrals in there? Who can we connect you with? We could spend 5 minutes just doing that and everyone in here can help you. Any recommendations to learn how to better use social media to advertise and share about the business? Yes, we could talk social. This is a great conversation. The first takeaway on social is please just post. It doesn't need to be perfect. You just need to be active. A lot of my social views are totally different than what social experts are going to tell you. But just take it with a grain of salt, and I promise it works. So first, just be active. So if you're on an account, if you've created Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, if you're on TikTok, whatever platform you're on, just be active and just post and create content. You can't predict what's going to work, so just post. It doesn't matter. The Cat Cafe is a great example for that. And the Cat Cafe, it took like 50 videos and finally one went viral and had like 300,000 views. And it was something we totally just didn't expect. So that's my first thing, is just create content and be active. That will solve a lot of your problems. Type of content. There's some buckets that make it easy for you. Memes are great, jokes in your industry, things that are localized, industry trends and education, and everyone loves behind the scenes. So grab your phone and record something that goes on in your daily life and post it. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to look perfect. Matter of fact, people relate better to the videos that aren't. My highest relatable videos are the ones I record where Bobby's sitting. And I literally just hold the phone on my steering wheel and I just record a video and hit post. Those usually get the highest interaction because they're real. If you want to learn more specifics, HubSpot does have a free accreditation course you can go take. So go to HubSpot. You can take their social media certification course. It'll probably take you like 12 to 16 hours. And at the end of it, they got a bunch more in there too, but at the end of it, like you're going to know enough to be lethal. And you'll probably do more than most of those agencies you're going to hire because it's custom to you and it's your own voice. So that's your word development on social. Any referral connected for a mental health clinic focused towards holistic healing, for sure. Definitely shoot me an email. I have a referral for you. And if anyone else does, hit Tiffany up, reach out to her, connect. When you mean sending referrals, would you recommend ad spends on finding clients for vendors? Oops, build a strong relationship. Monday's webinars at noon Pacific time, in case some of you guys aren't in this market. Ad spend on finding clients. So I don't, this is my, again, this is take everything with a grain of salt, right? It's my perspective, my perception, my business, right? I don't recommend ad spend unless you have a highly converting funnel and you know your numbers intimately, and you have a low offer product, right? So I do a lot of high ticket sales. And so like for me to do an ad funnel doesn't make sense unless I'm going to opt someone into something else. I'm all about relationships. And so what I teach people is exactly a lot of the questions you guys are asking. I teach people, and it's my background, right? Helping 100 of the best service providers generate 100 connections. Like, I don't have to market and it fills up. I have today received 8 connections, 4 of which are people I could never get on their calendar. Like there's zero chance. Like if I did cold outreach, there is no chance that one of these 4 people would have booked a meeting. The only reason I'm going to get on their calendar is because someone opened a door for me, and that's what we do. Anyone who's met with me, Bobby can talk about it, I can talk about it. Like I'm going to open doors for you guys. And sometimes they're awesome and sometimes they're not. Sometimes you got a mine and the relationship didn't work out, but we'll open doors. And so I'm all about relationships and helping others first. And I found that that's my best return on investment for marketing. So with that, guys, we have 2 minutes. SBDC, anything else you want to say?
Thank you all for joining us. Again, if you have more questions, you are more than welcome to reach out to Devin. You will receive the recording of this and the slides Monday at the latest. Let me get it up. But if you need more business advising or you're looking for a particular training, definitely reach out to me. We are sending you a post survey in 2 days. Let me know how you felt about this webinar and what you need in the future for this year. So thank you again for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you again on the next one. Thank you, Devin. Great content.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks.